We are officially ready, but what are we ready for? Will be revealed. I'm just dropping off at Ricky Booby's to check the state of play with the race car, and I see that the new fuel system is in place, although the air filter isn't. So that's good. Meantime, I see that the Daytona is still undergoing issues with fuel pressure gauges. No, oil pressure gauges. Beautiful car. And then of course there's the Roadster. What a lucky man. Anyway, I'm on my way to Prescott Valley to have a look at something. Thought I'd take the picturesque route through Jerome and over the mountain. I had some other things to do on the way as well, so it made sense. So we're now climbing to a mile high through the windy streets of this cliff top, what was a mining town, and then turned into a bit of a ghost town at some point, and has been regenerated by artists and the like. So there's a haunted hotel in front of me, and we continue to climb. Lovely place, thoroughly recommend to visit. And me and fuel leaks. So already sprung a fuel leak. Crazy. Because that popped off and that popped off. Overflows. Yeah, pipes are too short. It's been gently dropped as per the MV. So it's got a sad looking indicator. I might have found my headlight thing, the MV, under there, because that doesn't seem to be doing anything useful. Anyway, can we guess what it is yet? It's air cooled as promised, so that'll be a lot less aggravation, one less leak to have to worry about. It's not a single rear swing on, so that's back to the old fashioned style. Tyres are fairly decent, and they're Michelin's. Switch gear is typically faded, as per anything that's left out in the sun in Arizona. Apparently this originally heralds from Maryland. These are quite neat little mirrors, but I probably won't be keeping them. It has a very strange latch device on the fuel tank which lifts up from the front. Like so. Oop, let's not give the game away. All that clobber will be coming off for sure. Looks like it's almost genuine carbon. These will have to be modified or replaced for sure. Only need one set of foot pegs, but they're quite integral to brake slave cylinders and things like that. Something, what's that? Is that a fuel filter remote? Strange, don't know. Alright, anyone guess what it is yet? The more discerning amongst you probably have already. Yes, it's another Italian bike. Some people never learn. Namely me. It's a Monster. A 2008 Monster to be precise. And it's not in bad condition. It runs pretty well. The tank's all scratched up but no dents. So time for a paint job, which is one of my favourite things, as you know. And lots of modifications. Don't know how we're going to deal with the seat aspect, because it's got to fit that tank. The electrics are a lot simpler than the Augusta as well, which is nice. Though there's still plenty of them kicking around in various random locations, but yeah, a lot less bulky should I need to relocate anything. Talking of bulky, there's a massive battery, same as on the 748 actually, twice the size of other batteries. Might do something about that, but there's plenty of room for it under the fuel tank there, and don't need that space for anything else, yet. Yeah, it's quite neat and tidy. The forks are in good condition, so that's nice. Obviously, the handlebars will be removed and clip-ons installed. That's a nice, relatively easy job. might renew all the switchgear at the same time. Speedo's quite nice, understated. Might keep that. Obviously we're going to be doing something different with a headlight. That's another one of my favourite little things to come up with something a bit creative. Likewise the backlight, indicators, etc. I've actually got a cunning plan for this, which I'm stealing from a maniac in Ohio that I would thoroughly recommend you watch his videos. He's building a Stratos Zero, the prototype that Bertoni designed to impress Lancia, which worked, because then they built this. So yeah, I think the seat's going to be the tricky part, because obviously this is a double seat and we don't want one of those, and it's got to fit that kind of shape there, or not. We can modify that, I guess. This is indeed going to be an interesting project, and like I promised, probably a little bit more radical than the MV. Maybe not, I don't know. We'll see how it goes. See what comes to mind. And these will have to go, for sure. They're far too big and far too quiet, honestly. It's kind of complicated under there. I'll probably stick with twin exhausts, but they'll be a lot shorter and a lot louder. And I think I'm going to take this whole exhaust system off, because it's pretty bloody grotty. Clean it up properly, maybe even paint it. Everything else is in pretty good nick, actually. Looks like that's been serviced recently. Yes, very nice. And a thoroughly nice chap in Prescott Valley who I bought it off. I want to hazard a guess as how much I paid for it. Well, that didn't take long, did it? Stripping it down already. Not really supposed to be getting into this today, but I just couldn't resist it. So I've decided already I'm going to be chopping the frame here, take this off, leaving that mount for that side panel, because I think I might keep them. So again, erring on the side of caution to start with, and then I'm going to be cutting across here and just a straight line across there. So doing the same the other side, obviously. Really neat seat latch, actually. No long cables. There's the key. We won't be needing that anyway. Yeah, cool. Glad we got that decided. Sure, what to do about these, really. There might be some aftermarket stuff for just a single peg. I'll have a look. But of course, you know, this is involved in mounting the exhaust, but we're not going to have these ridiculously large silencers. They're good for nothing. So yeah, I don't know whether to cut it here and just leave that little bit there neatly, and then cut it again here, maybe here, make some kind of neat line there. Not sure, or keep the whole thing, honestly, because the exhaust might come to there, so that might be a handy mount even for the new exhaust. Just end there rather than all the way over there. There's your problem. This exhaust system meets EPA noise standards. Yeah, screw that. Well, it was crying out for one. I've got loads. Obviously I'm going to do something with that cover, paint it or something like that, but just for a giggle, I foresee some go faster racing holes in that brake pedal. I think that'll look funky. And now I'm getting a bench drill, I'll be able to do it nice and neatly. These don't look too rusty, famous last words, but hopefully we'll be able to get that whole system off. That'd be nice. Clean it up. Looks like a fairly new oil filter, and this is definitely not the right fitting for that. It's like a bit of a bodge job to me. Little Wolf's come to inspect the new acquisition. What do you think, Little Wolf? Cardboard boxes are more interesting. Okay. Got rid of the mirrors already and the indicators, and we're going to tackle the headlight now. I think I'm just going to chop those, because that won't fit through that, and I'm sure they unplug, but I don't need them because they're specifically for the bulb that's involved in this. So when I put the whole unit on, I shall give them the wiring loom as well. This is interesting, especially given all the aggravation I had with coming up with a headlight mount for the MV Augusta. So this is all integral actually in the Ducati Monster, where the headlamp mounts are part of this frame that runs down here and round through into these little bits which route the brake cables, and then back up again into the bottom of the handlebar or the yoke, and that's where the speedometer, etc. mounts. So I think I'm going to leave them be, honestly, because it's just a question of making something that fits in between that fairly standard kind of gap. So that's a good news. That said, one of the issues I can foresee is the clips mounting in there, the clip-on handlebars. That could be tight at the top, so they may need some modification, unfortunately, because down there would be too low for the handlebars. They've got to be there really at the very at the top, unless I just went for some that are mounted at the top and drop from there, which is what I initially did on the Triumph. They're not quite so cool, honestly, as the clip-ons, but they do the trick in terms of the riding style, and obviously the mounts are there to do that with. So I may do that. I'll give it some thought. Check the ones on the Triumph, see what they look like, and see how much kind of clearance I'm going to need. Yeah, so that scruffy bit of mock carbon that was at the back of the Monster might also work for my little headlight cover on the MV. Kind of like these side panels painted up. I think they'll look rather neat. Don't know what to do about this shenanigans. I think I'm going to get rid of that horrible plastic shrouding around the key, which will make life easier because that kind of latches onto something down there. Very difficult to do. Looking forward to coming up with a paint scheme. Even though I quite like this, it's a dull, yeah, I guess it's a satin finish black, which is pretty cool, honestly. And of course we've got to come up with a theme. You always shift the seat to the back of the frame and put some nice ape hanger bars at the front and make it into some kind of lowrider type thing. Right, I'm only joking. Kind of like the whole mudguard thing actually, it's quite pretty. Just a little bit big, maybe. Only downside of that integrated headlamp, everything else mount at the front, is that it's bloody ugly. So the big round headlight obviously obscures all that nicely, and anything clever that I'm going to do has got to do the same. I do have a cunning plan though. The frame itself is pretty tidy, honestly, and there's no discernible scratches. So contrary to popular trends, I might leave it this way and not pick it out in some bright yellow, leery, orange, whatever. Just keep it in there nice and subtle. If it had been chipped to hell, then I might have done something with it this time. I avoided it on the Augusta because I like the blue, and I was prepared to maybe drop everything out this time around, but I don't think I will. I kind of like the black, honestly. Don't really want to get a new caliper if I can help it. It's only cosmetic, but maybe I'll have to. Wheels are in good shape, but I'm thinking I'll probably paint those. Depends on what colour scheme I come up with. Anyone getting dizzy yet? Yeah, don't know. No idea on the colour scheme or the theme overall. I swear they do this for fun. So most of the Allen bolts on this are 5s, but these are 5.5s. Why? Just removing that shroud from the ignition key mount, and seems like there's a light in there and something. Some electrical cable going in there. Interesting. Well, the ignition is now on and there's no light, so is that maybe something to do with the immobilizer? Yep, that's exactly what it is. So here's what happens. What a pain in the ass. Turn that on, everything comes on, lovely jubbly. Nothing. Put that round it. Oh, wait. I had that off. Alright, let's demonstrate again. Oh. Ignore that. Clearly I was confused. So, the other thing that I had was the speedo not on the mount. Ignition's still on. Okay. I don't know what that does then. What does that do? Well, interesting though is this latch is really fiddly, and as you can see, it's ruined the paint on the tank down there. So this bit scrapes back and forwards. So I'm going to take that off and do something about that. Put something on the underside to stop it scuffing. Look at that. Yeah. Not a great idea, Ducati. Quick release, nice, but yeah. So just a couple of Allen bolts, no doubt some random size. Look like 3s to me. And underneath the seat there is a genuine Ducati toolkit, which you can get to as long as you've got a big ass screwdriver. And apparently it's everything you need to service your Ducati. Good luck with that. Looking at the exhausts, it's not going to be an easy solution because there's that whole angle thing, which is part of the silencer at the moment, because I'm going to break it here, right? So, going to have to come up with an angled piece that then brings whatever I find maybe in line with that. Don't really want it just sticking out at an angle. Depends how short it is. Depends how loud it is, I guess. Can we beat 130 decibels, maybe? Still haven't given up on the idea of using that tailpiece from the Honda that I bought ages ago. Kind of like that. Try it on Photoshop, see what happens. Which brings me to the seat, which yeah, I've been investigating on eBay, and obviously that would be totally custom to build a seat to fit that. It would be quite nice though, a little butt rest. Yeah, and it's not easy. Most of the custom seats won't fit that bit, so this could be a complicated procedure. However, I do have a cunning plan involving some plastic bags and some building foam, so we'll see how that goes. And some fiberglass. So dug out the CD manual that came with the bike. It's a 696, and yeah, examined the fuel system pages, and of course it's missing the images. Amazing. For that. So I'm still not quite sure what that is. I know I should know. Hopefully this stuff has loosened up the nuts on the exhaust overnight and this morning enough to tackle trying to take those off. Let's give it a go. These are the drops, the clip-ons on the Triumph, and as you can see there's that big chunk of metal there which is going to get in the way of that headlamp mount on the Monster. Well, that was far too easy, which is a pleasant change thanks to our lubricant friend. And yeah, that's looking better already. Those silly exhaust pipes on it. Bet these aren't going to be so easy though. Just for a giggle. That's loud. Well, it was loud, but it was only 125 decibels, so still the Augusta is the champion on the decibel. It sounded alarmingly like a Harley Davidson, but then I suppose it would. It's a V-twin. So these are 10mm bolts, which is surprisingly small. Nuts, bolts, threads, whatever. And the only way I could get in there, because of the pipe being in the way, no matter what angle you attacked it from, was not with a conventional wobbly like that boy, because it got in the way as well, but with one of these. So it's an extension, and instead of having a square head on it, it's got that slightly rounded head, which just allowed just enough angle, only just, to get in there. Useful tool. Of course, what's happening is the stud is actually unscrewing rather than the nut off the stud, so that's fun. Yeah. Well, that one up there was a little bit more tricky, but it came off. And I'm no expert on airflow, but that doesn't look very helpful to me. Well, I think we might have to completely redo this exhaust. Just doesn't look very good, does it? Looks restrictive. Anyway, of course there's one more to get off, so everything's been easy so far, so this will obviously be the tricky one. Knew there was going to be one that was going to be awkward, so that's not coming off in a hurry. Put some more of that lubricant on it, see what happens with that. Meantime, notice these, nice. Not just a straight cut, which makes a lot of sense. So you get a better seal for the exhaust when that clamps together. Very nice. Not seen that before, or not noticed it before at least, but yeah, very clever design. I thought I'd explore another avenue, and you know I said the electrics on this bike were simpler than the MV. Well, I lied, they're not. So this baby goes all the way up here, in this big tangled web up here, traced it round, it kind of went off in that direction, and then doubled back. And I think we found it. Lots of bits to snip just to make sure, clips and things, and rubber bands and all kinds of stuff holding this thing in. But hopefully that's it and I can get it out. Free and clear after much more spaghetti mangling. Interesting routing of wiring. Can't guarantee it's going to go back the same way because that was a real pain in the ass. Anyway, guess I can start cleaning that up now and painting it. And looking for things that will fit the other end. So what little I do know about exhaust emission is that crossflow is a good thing. And so this pipe comes from that front cylinder, goes all the way down there, and then splits two ways. And then this pipe goes up to the back cylinder, and that comes down here and splits the same two ways. So it does kind of make sense. It just looks kind of narrow to me. And these then are the two exhausts. Yeah. I mean, it makes sense from a flow point of view, except for the narrowness of that. I would think that would be restrictive. Who knows? Perhaps one of you clever dicks, and you can leave an answer in the comments. Be interesting. So the guy yesterday that I bought it off was saying that it was making a nasty grinding noise from the back. and that perhaps the bolts were actually going into the disc. And I said, have you checked the pads? And he was like, no. Yeah. Nothing left on those. Better check the front ones then, I guess. Just a cheap trick. Leverage, always the name of the game. A little bit of tubing. Shove it on there. Easy. Better than struggling away with muscle power. Just happened to have these handlebars left over from my Triumph, actually, the Speed Triple. And exploring, yeah, thinking about the whole drop handlebar situation. And, you know, what if you just turn them upside down? There's a bit more of a drop on the Ducati ones. And if you just turn them upside down, is that enough? Maybe. I think it might be, honestly. I'm going to try it to start with. Just flip them. Yeah, flip them over there and then upside down. Let's try that. 2 hours later. No. 30 minutes later. That's what this looks like. By the way, if you're going to do this, completely remove the brackets for these ones, for the calipers and the reservoirs first. So back with the Ducati handlebars upside down. From this perspective, this actually feels quite good, honestly, and yeah, doesn't look bad. And all we're going to gain is extra reach downwards if we put clip-ons in, because they're going to be there, what, 3 inches lower maybe. And if we put risers on, we're going to end up with pretty much the same position. So I'm wondering if all that is worth it, or whether we just flip the bars. I'm thinking we just flip the bars, honestly. Makes sense to me. That works. Different attitude altogether, just by flipping the bars and turning them down. They're resting on that, pretty much. No, they can come down a bit more. What? You think that's a good idea? I think it's a good idea. Yeah. The added good news is that it's still got full steering lock on that, with no problems with the handlebars fouling with the tank or anything else, which honestly was always a problem with the MV, with all the fairings and everything on. If you had it on full lock, it would actually foul with the fairing and you get your hand caught and pinched. So for now, we'll go with that. See how it all pans out. Keep thinking what a nightmare this seat's going to be because of that tank line. Wondering whether I just do a Triumph situation on this, honestly, and keep the original seat. But, yeah, if I don't, that back wheel's going to poke out like lots, like this. And that'll be cool. I've flipped the handlebars upside down and back to front, and they work really nicely actually. And I've dropped the brake lever lower, so that when you're riding, because so many bikes you're riding and your wrist is at this angle the whole time. So this then brings it into that kind of position, much more comfortable. So we can do the same on the other side. But typically, having swapped everything around, see, this is the global impact. That doesn't quite nestle in there like it should, because this baby is in the way. So we're going to have to just loosen that off and spin that round so that that notch there comes up instead of down. Given I've removed the complete exhaust system and I'm not about to start it up in that condition, I may as well carry on and take off the fuel tank, because we won't be starting it up, and get on with at least prepping that for paint. I haven't decided what colour it's going to be yet. I'm thinking I'm going to stay with black. No, it's not very radical, is it? I promised to be radical with this one. Maybe the next one. But I'm looking at my list of possible themes for bikes, and it's all tending towards this one. Especially when you see the logo that I'm thinking of. And this time around, I'm liking the naked front wheel with no mudguard. Despite the fact the mudguard was quite pretty, it just kind of suits this more than the MV somehow. I kind of like it. So I think we're sticking with that. We'll rewrote those brake cables somewhere tidy. Somewhere like that. Yeah. I'm doing the job. Don't know how. Got rid of that reflector because the other side had fallen off anyway, and we won't be wanting those. And we'll be trying to use that to get that off. Removing the tank should be easy enough, contrary to a post I saw on the MV Augusta forum where a dealer wanted to charge, I think it was $750 or was it $1,500 to remove and refit the fuel tank. That works out at about more than $500 an hour in my opinion. Anyway, never mind the dealerships. So there's a split pin there, which will release that pin that goes through that it pivots on, and then from this end it'll just pull off. It's just a question. We got some quick release valves again, like on the Augusta. We've got these two pipes that popped off when I originally lifted the tank up, which revealed something else we'll come to later. But I thought I smelt gasoline, and sure enough, I think we've got a leak situation here. So gonna have to drain the tank and sort that out. What is it with me and bikes and petrol leaks? Jesus. So the revelation, and thanks to my mate Nathan Graham for pointing this out, was what the hell's this? And apparently it's got something to do with emissions. And you can see that the pipes go into the tank, and then there's one that goes off. I'll show you in a minute. Be a lot easier once I've got the tank off. Interestingly, when I released one of the not so quick releases, petrol started pissing out everywhere. So there's obviously not a stop valve like there is in the Augusta, which is strange because there was on my 748 as well. So I'm not sure what that's all about, which is a real pain. Not sure how we're going to do this apart from quickly. At least having released it from the split pin, I can lay it kind of level so that gravity takes care of that immediate petrol leak once I release those valves. I'll do these two first because I don't think they go anywhere. Well, that's an overflow, and the other one goes into that emissions thing, which we're going to get rid of. These fuel lines are pretty horribly corroded actually, probably due to the leak from there dribbling down and slowly rotting them from the outside. That's not good. Need some new fuel lines. Just a very quick note that the right goes to the right, which is out, and the left goes to the left, which is in. Still can't get them off. Release these. Can't pull the pipes off. Meantime, it's peeing petrol everywhere, all over this, out of the filler cap. So I think I'm just going to chop these bloody hoses, honestly. Going to have to replace them. Look, they're horrible. That's not good, is it? Yeah, okay. Not the most conventional way to drain a petrol tank, involving a funnel and other stuff, turning it upside down. Anyway, covered in gasoline. Time for a cigarette. And on that note, I think we'll call it a day, because this has been a long episode, hopefully full of exciting opportunities and some interesting questions. So thanks for watching again. Do subscribe. Yeah, encourage others to watch my lunacy.